Breaking news, officials in at least 4 countries privately discussing ways that they could manipulate President Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner. This is according to a report tonight in the Washington Post, which says officials in China, Israel, Mexico, and the UAE looked into how they could take advantage of Kushner's complex business arrangements, financial difficulties, and lack of foreign policy experience. This development comes as we're also learning Kushner has lost his top secret security clearance, a major development tonight. Kaitlan Collins is out front. And Kaitlan, what are White House officials doing right now to ease the tension that clearly is now here between Jared Kushner and John Kelly, the chief of staff, who is the one who made this decision to strip this top secret clearance?
Certainly a significant amount of tension between those two here, Erin. And we know that White House officials worked over the last few weeks to try to identify a way that Jared Kushner could stay on in the role he has now with the portfolio he has now without personally appealing to the president for some kind of waiver so he could continue to access that highly classified information. But with our reporting today, we show that Jared Kushner was downgraded from a top secret interim security clearance to a secret interim security clearance, just like the rest of the people who are also operating under a similar one. And though the White House is stressing that Jared Kushner is going to be fine, that he's going to be able to operate in the same retrospect that he has been for the past 13 months, dealing with the Middle East, dealing with Mexico, that's pretty much only the White House saying that. And Jared Kushner's daily life in the West Wing is about to look a lot different, because we know that he was one of the few top officials who requested almost more access to classified information than anyone else. We also know that he had access to the PDB, the Presidential Daily Brief, a document that has the most pressing information from around the world for the president. He reads it regularly. We know that as well. So he will not have access to either of those, and he also won't be able to sit in on the same meetings that he has been so far. We know that the president is aware of the tension between Jared Kushner and John Kelly, but Erin, it's hard to see how the life is not a lot different in the West Wing for Jared Kushner from now on.
Yeah, very different. And I think a lot of things you point out there, Kaitlan, so crucial, including that he was the biggest consumer, the biggest requester of top secret information, somebody who used it, read it voraciously. Thank you so much, Kaitlan. And out front now, the former director of national intelligence and retired lieutenant general in the United States Air Force, James Clapper. Great to have you with me. General, I appreciate your time as always. Look, Jared Kushner had top secret security clearance, and he used it. He was the top requester of information in the White House. He had the access to the Presidential Daily Brief, and now that access is stripped, downgraded. What's your reaction, General?
Well, first, I think Chief of Staff John Kelly did the right thing, and I gather that Kushner's clearance was one of perhaps 120 or 130 or so, that at least that's what's been reported, that were in a similar status that did not have access to SCI, the highest level of clearance access. So my impression is that John Kelly made a decision across the board with everyone that was affected to include Kushner, which is the right judgment. Now, as has been stated earlier, the president ultimately is the ultimate clearance grantor, and so if he wants to make an exception and still give his son-in-law access, he can do that.
Now, the Washington Post is reporting a couple of crucial things, General. One of them that the officials from 4 countries, at least 4, discussed manipulating Kushner in part because of his financial troubles and his inexperience on foreign policy. How concerning is that? And, we understand those countries included places like China and countries in the Middle East.
Well, it's potentially very concerning. Now, I'm not in a position to confirm that reporting, but let's just assume it is valid.
Yes.
And that is precisely, I think, one of the complexities in doing a background investigation on Kushner, because of the potential financial complications that or dealings he may have with these countries, who in turn could use that as leverage to influence policy outcomes by the United States. Now, I'm given to understand that the actual background investigation phase of this will be done relatively soon, within the month. And if that's true, then it will still be up to the White House, some senior official, presumably John Kelly, to then adjudicate what background investigation has turned up and actually make the ultimate decision as to whether or not he would be granted a clearance based on the results of that investigation.
How big of a deal is this development, though? When you think about it, a senior advisor to the president, right, among his portfolio, right, dealing with China, peace in the Mideast, had traveled, had meetings with kings and dictators, and all of the access that he has, to suddenly lose this clearance. I mean, is this an unprecedented moment?
It is, and it really puts him in a position, if this sticks, of dealing with way less than a full deck in all these sensitive portfolios. Just take Mideast as a case in point. Having some familiarity with the situation there, I just think it would be very difficult to do anything meaningful without having access to the classified intelligence at the highest levels to understand the subtleties and nuances of what's going on out there. Not to mention dealing with another portfolio of China. And as also been indicated, it isn't just a question of access to classified information and what he can read or not. Another complexity is attending any kind of meetings. The White House Situation Room is typically set at the TSSCI level. And so if he were to attend a meeting and he's only cleared for secret, that really inhibits the conduct of business.